Hello. So the challenges facing childcare did not start in 2020. Disinvestment in this field has held back to our state for decades. We've lost over 40% of our family childcare providers since 2013 alone, impacting children, working parents, and employers. The question is, in your first year, what is the single biggest childcare problem you will take on?
All right, well, first of all, thank you all so much for being here. I am Mandela Barnes, former Lieutenant Governor, really excited to be in the campaign to become the next governor of the state of Wisconsin. I often talk about the fact that I want Wisconsin to be a state where every child has at least the same opportunities that I had growing up. Now, I did have a good fortune of being an only grandchild, which meant that childcare wasn't too big of a problem for my parents because my grandparents, of course, were more than delighted to have me over the house all the time. But that's not everybody's reality. And childcare, just like K-12 education, so many of our other institutions in Wisconsin, is completely broken. Now, I'm preaching to the choir on this, but if you want to get a message across, you should preach to the choir, because that message needs to be delivered outside of these halls, outside of these doors. Too many folks in Madison find it easier to ignore this challenge, as they've ignored our children for far too long. Now, families are struggling to pay for quality childcare, and childcare providers struggle to be able to retain talent because of the difficulties of being able to pay staff adequately without raising costs on families. Now, early in the campaign, I had a chance to visit a number of early childcare facilities, had a chance to speak with parents, had the chance to speak with people who operate facilities, and some of the educators who work there. And it could not be more abundantly clear that we as a state need to implement universal childcare. Now, it's hard to pick just one thing that would be a priority because we need a complete system overload of early childcare here in Wisconsin. But universal childcare can manifest in many forms. There are different models out there, but I do support one that provides 100% free tuition for families that make under $100,000 a year. If you make above $100,000 a year, I do support a 7% income cap. This is how we create a system that provides a little more equity across the board. Now, will there be certain things we need to tweak along the way? Of course. I don't claim to be the expert. The experts are here in the room wearing yellow shirts, and I look forward to having a chance to engage you all in conversation when that time comes, when we craft a state budget that truly puts the children of the state of Wisconsin first, that truly gives an opportunity to parents who want to be in the workforce, but find themselves in a position where they're actually losing money by going to work and trying to find childcare for their children. This is an immediate problem we have to fix for the future of Wisconsin, and I couldn't be more excited to get to work on it with you all.
First of all, I appreciate everybody being here, and I appreciate your level of engagement and activism and what I have seen from you in past years. So I'm Joel Brennan, grew up the 10th of 11 kids, a fifth generation Wisconsin family, and I had the honor of being DOA secretary under Governor Evers for 3 years. But a bigger honor that my wife Audra and I have are being parents to two kids. And they were born 16 months apart about 20 years ago. And both Audra and I were working. And so we became parents of kids who went to Neighborhood House in the Central City in Milwaukee, a nonprofit that's been around for about 80 years. And because all of you work in this business, you know what happens. We started as parents at Neighborhood House. I was asked to join the board of Neighborhood House. I became the chair of the board of Neighborhood House. This is what happens. You're in for a penny, you're in for a pound when it comes to early childhood education. And so over the course of the last 20 years, my son's in the back, and he's doing pretty well. So you guys can give yourselves a round of applause for how you do and what you deliver. But this has been a situation where there has been an emergency over the course of the last generation, and Wisconsin hasn't done enough. There are other states that have done more. So the question is around what will we do in our first year? You are living now 2 weeks from the state not doing anything more for bridge payments after 5 years of the payments that we were just kind of propping things up with federal money. Calling these bridge payments are supposed to be a bridge to something. And this has been a bridge to nowhere. So what will we do? One of the first things we need to do is emergency funding going into childcare in the first days of the administration. We're going to be living with this for the next 6 months. We need that to be the bridge to a bigger fix when it comes to the state budget, because budgets are about values in the state of Wisconsin. We became one of the last states in the last year to put any state money beyond what we absolutely needed to into early childhood education, one of the last 6 states in the country. We need to make sure that we fundamentally value this moving forward. And so, you know, 1, we will do that emergency. 2, we will work on things in the state budget, like a refundable tax credit for childcare that we can make sure that we are doing over the long term. Doing things to invest in workforce. You know, there are other states that are way ahead of Wisconsin. The state of Vermont passed a 0.44% payroll tax. In Wisconsin, that would be worth about $900 million that we could put into early childhood. We could do other things. Those are the types of things we need to do in the first year, in the first budget, but for the next generation. These are the things that we have just been ignoring as the problem has gotten worse and worse over the last generation in Wisconsin. And if we are going to be the Wisconsin that we want, it's going to mean we're investing in those 0 to 3 years where 95% of brain development happens. And we're then going to allow kids to read by age 8, lead by age 18, but you don't do that until you start where people live and where they are. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. Thanks everybody for coming out here today.
Thank you. Am I loud? Because I can be real loud. Okay. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you all for being here. My name is David Crowley. But before I go into my remarks, I do want to say just thank you in general for all the work that you do each and every single day. Many people may not look at this, but I do. You all are the unsung heroes. The reason why our children have a better foundation of learning before they enter our public school systems because of the work that you do each and every single day. And that's important to me. You know, I always talk about my better 3/4, but also have 3 daughters. You call them the A squad, 18, 9, and 6. And I'll have to tell you, I'm extremely proud of the fact that I have a 6-year-old because I don't have to pay for childcare anymore. Because all of us understand how expensive and how out of reach childcare is for many families across the entire state right now. And so when we think about what's the most important thing that we can do for you all right now, we can give you the money that you need. Right. And it's about how do we utilize our child care development block grant dollars that we get from the federal level, but also coupling that with real estate investments so we can actually continue to build that better foundation of learning for our children. And it's not just about child care. It's also about birth to 3, making sure that we're focusing on the health and the well-being of our children because they are our greatest commodity. And the fact that the state of Wisconsin has not made the investments that we need to make, it shows where our real priorities are. And I don't blame that on Governor Evers. I blame that on a Republican-controlled legislature because we need to instill more money into these programs so you all, 1, can provide the great services you provide, but you also deserve not to go broke doing it. We know that you all are operating at a loss many of the times, if not all the time. And so I think it's incredibly important that we put our money where our mouth is. We can't just talk about our kids. We actually have to invest in our kids. And so I'm extremely proud to be here. Just want to say thank you again and looking forward to the continued discussion.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here, seeing a lot of friendly faces and folks who have been in this work, doing the advocacy while operating your childcare centers, being moms, being everything that you have to be in everyday life, while having to fight for an industry that should have been treated as infrastructure, where the providers and our childcare educators should have been treated as the professionals they are for years, that the people who take care of our kids should have been taken care of for many, many years. We have gotten to this point into the pandemic for folks to recognize how important it is for the entire community to be invested in childcare. So I just want to applaud the work that you have done and the work that you continue to do and the work that I plan to be a partner in. The single most important thing that we have to do is fix the funding mechanism. Design something that is going to be sustainable, predictable, and adequate when it comes to investment in childcare. I think that emergency funding for the bridge payments is absolutely within the first 100 days, but how can we build into our funding system at the state to ensure that investments are going into childcare, not just from a single agency, but that we are seeing it as economic development, that we are working across agencies to make sure that this is something that is prioritized, as it is a crisis, no matter what region of the state you are in. I think we just have different metrics in terms of how we measure how difficult the situation is. Designing a new funding system for childcare and ensuring that we are investing to build in a program where childcare is free for all families making 400% below the federal poverty level, and those who are making above that, that it is capped at 7%. That the predictable adequate funding comes from actually funding childcare investments and the programs through a segregated fund. That it isn't having to piece together different funding while ensuring that access to the different vouchers and the shares programs is much more accessible. And that's going to have to come with funding state agencies as well, that we need staff to help people navigate the different programs that may be available, and that we ensure that we're taking care of our providers, that we're taking care of our workers, and that families have more access to childcare so that we can build in the actual universal childcare system that must happen in order for us to have an economy in Wisconsin that actually belongs to everyone.
I've had the opportunity to do a lot of things throughout my career. I'm an attorney. I've run a statewide nonprofit focused on reproductive rights. I've served in the state Senate and in the state assembly, and I've been a small business owner for 13 years. And throughout most of that, I've been a working mom. I have 5 kids and stepkids ranging from 25 to almost 5. And the reason that I've been able to do all those things are because of the people in this room, and specifically Alyssa and Ash and the team at Creative Learning Preschool. It is a lot of round of applause, and I'm actually a little bit perplexed just even thinking about it. Because what they have done for our family goes so much beyond allowing me to work and giving our family economic security. They have taught me to be a better parent. They have helped me brainstorm how to address challenges in our family. They have loved my children. What is the price of that? The single most important work that any of us do as human beings is to care for other human beings. And the second most important is to educate human beings. And early childhood educators do both. So I am here because of all of you, and specifically here to make sure that that work is valued as the public infrastructure that it is. If we're going to address the child care crisis, the way we do that is to make it possible for the people who love to do this work and know what it is to be able to afford to do it. It is money in your pockets. Addressing the provider shortage means raising the minimum wage. It means making you automatically eligible for state healthcare and state pension system so that you can have a secure retirement. It means making it possible for you to go to college and get that associate's or bachelor's degree in early childhood for free, or to get loan repayment as long as you are in the field. You can't do that without public money. And when we do that, when we actually have public investment in early childhood, then we can actually make it affordable for families because you won't have this huge provider crush. We can do that by making Wisconsin shares universally available and capping the amount that families pay at 7%. There is nothing that's more important to me than making sure that every single child in the state, no matter who you are or where you're from, has the freedom to thrive. Public investment in early childhood is absolutely at the center of that. And I'm delighted that some of my colleagues on the stage have joined my longstanding pledge that on day one, I'm going to pass emergency funding to, number one, get special education reimbursement that you were promised in the last budget into our K-12 schools, to restore childcare counts funding so that providers get that emergency money. And we're also going to do a little bit of stewardship funds to get that conservation program back online. Thank you so much for having me today.